Hey guys, welcome back to the Bucket Think Tank. So, we're a bit behind because we're working on the Yu-Gi-Oh video, and we hit a snag, the wonderful world of copyright. So, we're trying to fix that, and so, with that in mind, we already took the previous week off, which is why there wasn't a video, so I didn't want to go 2 weeks without not putting out a video. That was just terrible. So, I decided to stall for time in the best way I know possible by randomly talking about books. Alright, so I decided to do some recommends, alright, and these aren't books that, some of them are my personal favorites, some are just books I think you should read just to sort of kill time, or maybe what's sort of the best part of a bad run, alright, or it was a fun experience, as opposed to a comic that I regret reading. This is a comic, or these are comics that if I didn't outright love, I'm like, you know what, this is fine, there's some interesting ideas here. There's some fun dynamics being played with. This is worth a discussion in itself. So let's get right into it with our first one, and it's a controversial one because I know you were all there for it. All right, Steve Rogers, Captain America. I know. Let's get it out of the way now. Hail Hydra. All right, I get it. I get it. I get why this is a problem. But hear me out. Hear me out. This story is actually pretty interesting, and I know, on the surface, one could ask, like, how could that be interesting? Because, really, what people thought this would be like some sort of woke SJW propaganda, it really isn't, actually. If I may sound more pretentious than I adjust my glasses. What Captain America Steve Rogers is about hate groups, and how people join hate groups, how people end up in those hate groups. One of the characters talked about is a member in Hydra, and Steve brings up his entire life leading up to this point. As a matter of fact, why can I not remember her name? Steve's girlfriend, Agent Carter, goes before I believe it's the government, before Congress, and talks about, hey, this spike of rising in Hydra and hate group is coming from something else. It's not just because people are bigots, but from something else. And really, there's an interesting discussion even Red Skull has, which brings up a lot of points that I think people would agree with. All right, and the weird part is, Red Skull even points out that the reason we're all here is because you couldn't even have these discussions without being called a bigot, or some other words. In other words, whether or not these issues are valid, to bring them up makes you the problem. And I think that's interesting, because it means that they've been pushed to this side because their claims, whether or not you think they were right or not, were just shut down to begin with. And then, of course, what leads to Cap being Hydra Steve, or Stevel, as he was called on Comic Pop, is courtesy of the machinations of Red Skull and the Cosmic Cube. And ultimately, I don't want to get too far into that to explain how this all happened. Big spoiler. But there is some interesting stuff regarding Steve and Steve's life, and what this version of Steve, what this Hydra Steve is, and how he came to be, is interesting, because at the end of the day, it's still Steve Rogers. Oh dear God, I always get them mixed up. It's still Steve Rogers. It's still the same kid, the same background, the same sickly body. All right. The difference is he's been raised in a new environment, or a different environment than what we know him as. All right. So the question is, who is Steve? But even more of a question is, as he hides who he is from everyone else and puts his whole plan into motion to, make Hydra great again, because he actually thinks Red Skull perverts Hydra. So, love it. Which is actually, I think, the book's attempt to sort of clean it up a bit for Steve. Like, no. Like, Steve was part of good Hydra. Red Skull's bad Hydra. So, take from that what you will. It's a bit of a stretch. And if I'm honest, maybe I don't appreciate this story as much as I think other people do, because a lot of stuff I didn't know about. So I'm like, there's some stuff Steve does I think has bigger ramifications, but that is sort of the point. Like, a lot of what Steve does is actually in the background. This story here reveals exactly what Steve's been doing since he woke up, and he was in essence the best part of Civil War 2. So there was that. Ultimately, what the best parts about this story is the climb. Everything that leads up to the big reveal leading into Secret Empire. Because Secret Empire just kind of sucks. Alright? Secret Empire just sort of implied all these problems with the Marvel Universe at the time. But overall, though, I still think this was a fun read, a good time to be had by all, and it got people, well, it should have gotten people to talk, should have gotten people to think, but I think people are more outraged by the whole Steve is a member of Hydra thing, and is what it is. Who knows? Next is Gotham Central. So, I was looking for a Bat book. I tend to always look for a Bat book, and Gotham Central was always like right there. Like, oh, Gotham Central. Neat. I would ignore it. I was like, okay, no thank you. No thank you. I was like, fine, it's on sale. I'll get it. And I loved 90% of the story. I did. The 10% was just that I felt like it should have probably ended the book earlier. That's just me. Maybe not. Like, at some point, I just sort of fell off. I finished it, but I just sort of, no. Gotham Central is about the hard-working men and women of the GCPD. There's very few corrupt ones in here, to be fair, and that's good, because it's hard to care about them if they're all just terrible. But what it is about what it means to be in the GCPD, how it feels to be the police the police department, who the people believe is like, okay, so where's Batman? Can we call Batman? That's kind of it. The fact that there's a bat signal up there that they cannot turn on. Alright, someone else has to turn it on for them. Alright, because if any of them does it, it creates a bigger problem, because that means that the police are calling a vigilante to help. Can't do it. Horrible. And really, at the end of the day, you sort of see that the GCPD has a mixed relationship with Batman. Some like him, some respect him, a lot dislike him, says he makes cops look bad. So it's almost like you have your Jim Gordon police officers and your Harvey Bullock police officers. So there's something to be said about that, because they both want the same thing. They both have different views about how this vigilante operates. Gordon, I think, views Batman as an ally, but also a useful tool. Alright, to go places where the police can't go. Alright? It's in the same way, no different than police officers who like the Punisher. Which I know people are like, oh, well, it doesn't make sense for police to like the Punisher. Like, it makes perfect sense for police to like the Punisher. Because police see a lot of messed up stuff that they don't get to do anything about. And there are some messed up stuff. Messed up things that police can't do anything about. Alright? They'd like to put a bullet in the head of some of these people. Alright? And they can't because it's the law. Alright? Punisher does that. Alright? It's wrong for them to want to be the Punisher, but it's perfectly natural to feel that way if you see some of the things they see. So, whatever. Anyway, back to Gotham Central. Alright? Gotham Central is this sort of rich tapestry of Gotham City. One thing that makes Gotham City work as a place that always feels lived in, it feels like this is a place where people belong. It's a city that you know almost as well as you might know your own. And Gotham Central becomes a bigger part of that. In Arkham City, we see GCPD headquarters. As a matter of fact, in just about all four Arkham games, we'll see or go to GCPD. This is the first time you actually feel like this place exists. It has homes, it has people who talk about stuff. And the first story here is about Mr. Freeze being the kind of person we all kind of know he is, but we keep giving him pass because he just wants to save his wife. Yeah, Freeze is still committing crimes, and he's still shooting officers. So, no. At some point, we have to go stop it. Alright? And the fact that he goes on trial, and he gets to be sent to Arkham Asylum because he's mentally unfit for Blackgate. Like, he's not in the right frame of mind. Then, no. The police no. He killed one of the officers, and he's horribly damaged the arms of another one. So, no. And really, the star character for this is Renee Montoya and Crispus Allen. And it's not a big stretch to think, because really they are sort of the point-to-point people here. And what I liked about Renee Montoya, and especially in Crispus Allen in this story, is that while they are big parts of this, they really are just sort of one part of the bigger story going on here. Like the story with Freeze, they have no real say in that story. There's a whole issue about why we're letting Batman continuously solve all of these. We can do it too. We can investigate. We can find stuff. We've got heads. Let's use them. And I love that. I do. If you're a big fan of Law and Order, I think you will like this. I think you'll like it. Again, my problem was at some point it really did it sort of lost steam for me as a reader. But at the same time, there was some really good stuff here, especially because it does reflect what's going on in the Batman books. So there's a mention of, say, No Man's Land. There's mention of Officer Down, where Jim Gordon is shot. There's stories when Batman goes missing for a bit, and they're wondering, hey, where is he? We see how the GCPD feels about Joker, which seemed pretty accurate. Pretty accurate. Overall, though, if you want a sort of mature book, without going over the top with its maturity, because we tend to not really agree on what counts as mature, what counts as over the top maturity, or whatever, this is it for you. All right, if you want something in that Batman universe with less comics, with less superheroes, and more just how do these guys deal with it, this is it for you. Next, we have Civil War. So, Captain America's Civil War is an interesting story that sort of takes the Civil War story and strips it down. All right, it's not as complicated, it's not as messy, it's not as big, but because of that, it goes right back to being what it's supposed to be, a story about Cap and Tony and the whole issue of security versus freedom and whatnot. Now, the Sokovia Accords in the MCU is pretty much brought about by superheroes themselves. All right, and that's kind of it. Like, hey, the Avengers should be put under the jurisdiction of the UN and whatnot. Ultimately, I disagree with that, and the same way I disagree with the Super Registration Act here. All right, but at the same time, I think Civil War sort of emphasizes the bigger issue. All right, and namely figuring out what causes this. All right, namely a bunch of stupid kids trying to be superheroes, which lead to the death of thousands. All right. And it's hard not to draw parallels between this and 9/11, which is pretty much what Civil War is inspired by. All right, the Patriot Act, and that security versus freedom. And the interesting thing about it is, not only did Marvel do its own 9/11 issue, which was kind of emotional, not gonna lie, this story here sort of brings it to the discussion and throws it all out the window. Like, it becomes a bigger story. We see the super community sort of trying to figure out, hey, should we register with the government? Shouldn't we? Everyone has their own reasons for agreeing, for disagreeing. Sue goes with it. Well, everyone knows who we are, and that doesn't matter. Spider-Man comes out like, yeah, but, the Goblin, I really don't want the Goblin to know who my aunt is. All right? Everyone has their own reasons for agreeing to side or not side with the government. And in Tony's mind, this isn't up for debate. If you want to be a superhero, you have to play ball. All right? And it leads to huge fights breaking out, alliances changing, lines being crossed on a multitude of different levels, multitude of different books coming in, discussing theirs. The Fantastic Four Civil War one I think is really good. The Black Panther one is hit and miss, depending on how much you like Storm and T'Challa. That's probably the only time I like Storm and T'Challa, but whatever. There's Captain America's little tie-in, his war journal, Tony Stark's, Punisher's, Spider-Man's. Everyone has something to say about Civil War, except for Thor, because he's dead, Hulk, because he's off on World, about to become another problem later, or Planet Hulk, and Doctor Strange like, y'all crazy, I'm going to sit this one out. And I felt Steven for that. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go meditate and just see what happens. All right. It's ultimately one really big, really ambitious, fun story that I can't help but recommend despite its flaws. It's a good story, warts and all, but I think it's a story that needs to be appreciated in its entirety, and even I haven't done that. Because some of the stories I just don't care about. I don't care about the Runaways. I don't care about Heroes for Hire. I just don't. I just don't. And maybe I'm doing myself a disservice. Who knows? Ultimately, Civil War is, again, that fun event that you've heard about, probably haven't read, or you've read it and you get what I'm saying. Also, I had an argument with a friend a couple years ago about when Civil War ended, and it almost got a little heated until I had to point out we were both right. And we were, which made me more right, because that's the kind of person I am. Pretentious. Next, we have Justice, all right, by Jim Crugan and art by the legendary Alex Ross. So, hot take. I don't like Kingdom Come. I don't. I don't. I just can't do it. I can't do it. By the time I picked up Kingdom Come, I'd already seen too much. What if Superman was the problem? All right, and that's what Kingdom Come is: Superman becoming the problem. And also, any story that ends with Superman and Wonder Woman bumping uglies, I'm like, no, no, not interested. No, it's a lazy pairing. All right, but anyway, Justice is what I love about superhero universes, which is everyone's involved, everyone's invited. It's a big old story. Heroes, villains, people in between, they all have something to say, something to do. And this story here is about the DC universe. All right? And I'm not going to go too deep into it because one problem is I think the story's a bit convoluted. It's a bit overly complicated. Maybe I'm just stupid. Possibly. I'm not adverse to saying maybe I've missed something. But this story is a big read. There's a lot going on. And I'm just going to really just one scene that makes me think you need to read it. Brainiac operating on Aquaman. That's it. If this doesn't get you intrigued, I can't help you. I just can't. All right? But like I said, the beauty of this story is how many people you see, how many heroes you see. John Stewart, Hal Jordan, Oliver Queen, Black Canary, Batman, Batgirl, Superman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Shazam, Black Adam. Did I say Black Canary? I think it's Black Canary. Supergirl, Aquaman, Ralph Dibny, all of them, Plastic Man, they're there. It's the same thing with the bad guys. Brainiac, of course, Black Manta, Gorilla Grodd, Sinestro, Clayface. As a matter of fact, with Clayface, Clayface is going to be weird. Overall, really fun. Really moments of heroes being heroes. All right? And dealing with whatever plan the supervillains have in common, because this is really, in my mind, sort of the origins of the Legion of Doom. All right? And I love it. It's fun. It's amazing. The art is, in my mind, some of the best Alex Ross has done. And I love every moment of this story, no matter how much it sort of confuses me sometimes. Yeah, we sort of went back to Captain America, but whatever. Next is Green Lantern by Peter Tomasi, Dave Gibbons, and Jeff Johns. Which is weird because Jeff Johns did not write the story I'm talking about here, but he plays a big role. As a matter of fact, hold on a second. First omnibus, Green Lantern Corps. Peter Tomasi and Patrick Gleason. Loved it. Loved it. This is definitely one of my favorite stories of all time. Alright? Ugh. Also, this book is dummy thick and I love it. But anyway, also now I'm collecting omnibuses. Anyway. When I think of the Green Lantern Corps, I think it's very easy to like your one Green Lantern because he's OP. Like he does, like people love Hal Jordan because of the whole, he does the impossible. Like Hal Jordan himself would say, like, my power is I always win. It's kind of it. John Stewart recently got a significant power upgrade. Alright? Kyle Rayner has a Sinus Ion, Guy Gardner was a Red Lantern. These are all significant, interesting power buffs that make the character, in my mind, interesting to attract readers, but they don't keep readers. And this is something the MCU hasn't realized with, say, Captain Marvel. Powers don't make your character interesting. Alright? Powers and feats, these are all things that get people to look at the character. Like, oh, okay, cool. Same thing with the costumes. Alright, for example, if we're getting off tangent here, Power Girl's costume gets my attention. I will admit it. Yes, it does. It does. We all know why. Alright? But I've enjoyed a lot of Power Girl's comics. The ones I've read anyway. So, whatever. Her World's Finest with Huntress in New 52 I thought was very fun. Her JSA stuff I think is also fun too. I think there's a lot to like about Power Girl as a character. Costume just got my attention, and I arrive for the costume and I stay for the character. That's the same thing. You arrive for the powers, you stay for the person behind it. And the Green Lantern Corps is that, alright? Ignoring all the spectacle about the Green Lantern Corps, all the things you can do with the ring, at the end of the day, these are space cops. And a lot of them have different backgrounds, they come from different places, because the Green Lantern Corps doesn't ask for people who just do military service. Saronic Natu, for example, is a doctor. In, Green Lantern First Flight? No, Tales of the Green Lantern Corps, in that movie, the first Green Lantern was a scribe. All right, there's no real question exactly what is required to be a Green Lantern. Look at Jessica Cruz and Simon Boz. They have no military training whatsoever. How Earth Lanterns actually tend to, or at least have some sort of service background. Alan Scott was in the Navy. Hal Jordan is a decorated member of the Marine Corps. The Air Force. John Stewart was in the Marines. Guy Gardner comes from a family of police officers. Really, it was only Kyle Rayner that broke the mold, being an artist. And then we go Jessica, Simon, and even Joe Mullane is a police officer. So it all sort of works. But here, we really sort of focusing on the fact that, hey, yeah, ignore all of that. This is about the people. All right? We see people go through their own PTSD of their time in the military. We see people balancing out their romantic relationships. That's all fun. Saronic Natu dealing with, say, the fact that she's failed to save people, including her partner as a Green Lantern, and find the courage to keep moving on and forgive herself for that, and sort of embrace being a Green Lantern, because on her homeworld, because, you know, she's the daughter of Sinestro, she has to deal with the fact that, hey, on Korugar, the Green Lantern symbol, that lantern is a symbol of fear and oppression. So she has to sort of deal with the fact that when she goes to operate on people, some people just will refuse to be with her as long as she has that ring. And so it's like, nah. So she has to deal with that. And of course, Guy Gardner being the big brother we all know he is, it all sort of works out. And oddly enough, funny bit, not really oddly enough, but that feeling sort of strives to run throughout the entirety of the Green Lantern Corps. These lanterns and their different lives, their different perspectives, you know, who they are when they put the ring on. It's so easy to just say, okay, what are they going to make this time? I'm like, no. You know, Vath, you know, is dealing with PTSD. He fears that one day it's going to be too much. He's going to end his life. You know, Guy Gardner feels that he's going to lose his friends to one thing or another. Iolande is a princess, and she feels she's being torn between her duty as a guardian of the universe, as a lantern, and a duty to her people. Kyle Rayner fears he's going to lose another girlfriend, because Kyle Rayner tends to do that. Izamat, I hope I got these names right, fears that, you know, one day the Thanagarians will just end him, and they'll experiment on him. It's birds versus aliens, birds versus lizards. You know, and Bizd was a fly who got a Green Lantern ring, and he knows if he loses that ring, he'll go back to being a fly. He can't do that. He can't go back. All right, he refuses to do that. He wants his life to have meaning, and it can't do that. He can't do that as just a fly. So, yeah, I love it. I love it so much. From the moment this team was formed with Saronic and Izamat and Vath, to the whole issue with the Black Mercy, to the Sinestro Corps War, to the Blackest Night story, to just seeing these soldiers go at it, like the Rann and the Thanagarian, who were fighting just a few minutes ago before they were drafted in the Green Lantern Corps, were just all set to just be at each other's throats, and they've become the best of friends. And I love it for that. I love that story for that. So yeah, this is one of my favorites. Next is JSA. So JSA, this story is, from a Jeff Johns perspective, I think it works. The problem is Jeff Johns not write this entirety of this book. All right, I forget who does later. Is it Venditti or James Robinson? If James Robinson's a coin flip, exactly how good it's gonna be. But whatever. So the JSA is, in my mind, where you go to be a hero. The Justice League is where you go to be a superhero, right? You go in to, you know, be the ones who save the world from a never-ending fight against Darkseid and Apocalypse and Brainiacs and whatnot. The JSA is where you go to be a hero, to raise that new generation, to teach people how to be a family, to teach people how to be a part of something bigger. Like, if on your list to go apply for the Justice League, if you have JSA member, like, you know what? You've jumped ahead of like 500 people, all right? You just have, and I love it. What makes the JSA work is, it's first of all, it's honor of legacy. All right, you have Mr. Terrific. Michael Holt is the second Mr. Terrific. All right, Liberty Bell, her parents were in the JSA. Hour Man, I think he's the second Hour Man. Yeah, he's the second Hour Man. All right, Stargirl Courtney Whitmore is the child of the Star Spangled Kid, and Dr. Midnight. Well, I think is he? no, I think his daughter becomes a member in the future. But you see this whole idea of legacy. As a matter of fact, Alan Scott, the first Green Lantern, Jay Garrick, the first Flash, are also members of the JSA. Matter of fact, they're founding members of the JSA, and it's cool because of that. Hawkman, his many iterations, Hawkgirl has also been a member of the JSA. It all just sort of works there, and we also see this fun sort of community. Like, hey, we're coming in, we're hanging out, we're doing superhero stuff, and later on we're gonna go make out because we're happily married. But also their investment in the character Damage and his life. It's all really interesting just to see how that plays out. And the kind of questions that exactly does Damage want to fix his life? Does Damage want to be more than what he is now? And there's a bunch of fun different stories and dynamics. Maxine Hinkle and the fact that her grandmother is with the JSA and she's a mile a minute, and it's great, it's adorable. You go from there. We see people like the origin of Citizen Steel and his legacy, dealing with the fact that his grandfather was Commander Steel, and he tries to uphold that, but he's crippled for life. And as is with superheroes, an accident's going to happen, and he's going to be a superhero. And it's really cool just to see that story, because it's not like, oh no, accident, now I'm a hero. No, it's this happened, and now I have to try to find a way to be better. I have to try to find a way to be what I need to be. And it's a really fun story because of that. Alright, there's so many different threads in the JSA that beginning story is just so good. Oh, where does it fall apart? I think at some point we should just like stop the story here, stop the story there. It's up to you. Like at one point I had like a fan fiction idea where my OC left the JSA at a certain point. That's when I would have ended the JSA run entirely. I'm that pretentious that when my OC leaves the JSA, like, should we disband? No, but this particular story should end now. We shouldn't do anything until that OC comes back into the fold. But whatever. Ultimately, if you want a fun story about legacy and heroes being heroes and a sense of community and really great full pages, you come to JSA. That's it. Really fun. Now let's go with the infamous Iron Man. So, fun fact, I, despite being this huge Batman fan, am not a fan of Iron Man. I don't hate Tony, I just can't bring myself to care about him. And I think it's because at the end of the day, despite Tony's problems, like his alcoholism, his desire for control really stems from the fact that I think he just feels he knows better. That's kind of it. I think Bruce's desire for control comes from a more real place. But maybe that's because I haven't found the right Iron Man book. If anyone knows a good Iron Man story, feel free to recommend it in the comment section. So then I come to Infamous Iron Man, written by Brian Michael Bendis, who is, yeah, he's not a popular name on this channel, but to be fair, ignoring his butchering of Superman, all right, his other stuff has been fun. Infamous Iron Man was really my first proper introduction to Bendis. Then I read his New Avengers stuff, which is also, I think, really good. But anyway, Infamous Iron Man is Doom becoming Iron Man. It's kind of it. What happened? Well, after the events of Secret Wars, and where Doom was God, and was control of everything, Reed came in and ruined it, as he tends to do. And he also decided to fix Victor's face. Victor's now quote-unquote hot. And he's talking to this doctor who was also a fan of Tony Stark. And Victor's trying to figure out who he is and the kind of person he wants to be. And he decides, like, you know what? I'm going to go visit Tony. Little does he know, though, or probably did know, Tony's in a coma. Presumably dead after the events of Civil War II, where, Bendis decided to ruin a couple of characters there, namely Captain Marvel. Just in time for her movie. It's okay, the movie ruined her more. So anyway, Victor decides, like, you know what? I'm going to be Iron Man. And there's some other forces going on here in the background. That is a take or leave thing. I didn't mind it. As a matter of fact, I think it was a really interesting dynamic. It got really weird at the end. But whatever. So really, I think what is fun about Doom being Iron Man, it's not just the fact that, he's once again, combined science and sorcery, as he tends to do. It's just the fact that everyone kind of says, like, dude, what are you doing? Don't do this. Like, the scene when Victor takes Tony's arm. He's like, Victor, Tony, I've always admired your work. I've always respected it. And Tony's like, AI Tony, because, you know, he's uploaded his consciousness. He's like, so here's the thing. Here is the thing. As much as I hate you, all right, as much as I just don't like you as a person, I appreciate that you respect my work. I really do. It's conflicting to me, but I appreciate it. I'd like you to leave. Like, you know what? I'm going to carry on your legacy, Tony. Like, no, please don't do that. No, I'm going to do it. I got you. I am going to be Iron Man. You can't, don't. Look, fun fact, Tony, I was never asking for your permission. So he goes off, and the madness sort of happens. And what works about this story really is not just the fact that no superhero believes Doom for a minute. Like, Ben Grimm is like, the hell. All right, no. Reed's gone. Sue's gone. All right, no. Valeria and Franklin are gone along with all the other kids. I can't find Alicia for some reason. Johnny's off. No. If there's one thing I'm going to do right here, right now, is like, you know, I'm going to beat up Victor Von Doom. Hold my jacket. Little do we know that, you know, Ben rarely wears a jacket. But overall, it's a fun story, namely especially going into Victor's mindset, why he does what he does, why he's doing this now. We're talking about how the events of Secret Wars have affected him. You know, where he stood at the whole point of it all. And that being a god didn't do it for him. Like, all that power didn't really do it for him. And so he's trying to find meaning some other way. And, you know, he's like, you know what? No one really appreciates Victor Von Doom. So I'll become Iron Man, you know? Rebranding. We all do it sometimes, all right? Sometimes you got to go in, start fresh, change the IP. Just works. And so why isn't this one of my favorites? Because I totally gave, you know, Green Lantern Corps a total tone bath. The problem is this story never finished. It didn't. Like, it ends on such a weird cliffhanger that, as far as I know, it's never resolved. That I just can't. I just can't. It's a fun story. Some not really necessarily fun ideas, but fun perspectives, fun dynamics. And there's apparently a story in, I think, one of the Avengers books where it all just comes tumbling down, and it's may or may not be Victor's fault, but who knows? Who knows? Overall, though, Doctor Doom stole the show from Marvel, and I've said it before. There was a time when Loki was Sorcerer Supreme, and you have the story where Doom is Iron Man. This should have been Civil War too. It should have been it. Like, who do you side with? No matter who you side with, you're not happy. You're not happy. Like, I can see Reed like, nah, I'm siding with Loki on this one. No. And Thor's like, siding with Victor. Like, look, we ain't happy about it, but we'll do it. Or Reed might bite the bullet like, you know what? I don't trust Loki. I know what Victor's going to do. And it's like, I'm lying. I don't know what Victor's going to do. I never know what Victor's going to do. Sue will be like, he trapped my baby in hell. I'm going over there. And Ben Grimm is like, gotta go with Susie on this one, Reed, and goes over there. Johnny's like, nah, F Doom. That actually probably would happen again. Reed is once again on the side opposite of his family. Franklin will side with his dad, like, nah, dude trapped me in hell. It's on site. It's on site, Victor. Actually, yeah, no one's siding. Actually, no. Valeria will side with Doom. Uncle Doom has always been on the right side of history. He trapped your brother in hell. Did I stutter? Frank is like, on site, Victor. On site. But whatever. Overall, a fun story, but really sort of fumbled it. And I'm not sure why it ended that way. I think it was ultimately because Bendis did leave Marvel for DC. No one won. Infamous Iron Man was never finished, and he got to butcher Superman. So, you know what? No one won. Worst trade deal in the history of trade deals, maybe ever. It just didn't work out. Next we have Exit, Stage Left, The Snagglepuss Chronicles. So, I don't regret reading this book. It's one of my personal favorites, but there is one big issue, and I'll get to that in a minute. When you think of a quote-unquote woke story, what do you think of? I think I mentioned it before. When I think of a woke story, I think of it as a negative. Because woke is only half, even if you view it as a positive, it's only half the journey. It doesn't matter if you just now see it. What do you do afterwards? Anyone remember The Secret of Nim? Old movie by Don Bluth? No one? Alright, I'm old. Okay, anyway. There's a scene when Nicodemus says, we can no longer live as just rats. We know too much. In other words, their eyes have been awakened. They've been awoken to the issue that it's wrong to steal power, to steal energy from the farmers, so they have to leave. They see, hey, this is wrong. What do? They take the steps to move it. It's not enough to just see the problem. How does that affect your worldview and your life going forward? That's kind of it. And I think some people decide to dig down and maybe pick the wrong way. The Nicodemus' decision to leave Thorn Valley and, create their own society makes more sense and creates fewer enemies for themselves. But whatever. There's the work. Woke, as I said, is half the job. So a woke story is really just being aware of the issue and not going anywhere with it. My definition for woke as a negative. All right, that's your Adventure of Superman John Kent. That is not Punchline, because I didn't finish Punchline, first of all. Alan Scott Green Lantern so far. It's got 2 more issues to pick it up, so we'll see. There's another one I'm not thinking of. I'm only going to mention books I've read. I just can't do it otherwise. Rosa in Doctor Who is my opinion of a woke story. Kablam is opinion of a woke story because it's just lecturing. There's no lesson to be had. All right, there's no informing the audience. Praxis does a better job of informing people. Orphan 55 is a bad example. But anyway, coming to Snagglepuss, it's a good job, and we're going to compare it to Alan Scott Green Lantern. So Alan Scott Green Lantern is about a gay playwright. Well, Alan Scott Green Lantern is about a gay superhero. And let's presume the 50s, although I don't think they gave the time period. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm just not thinking of it, because this story has a better idea of itself. So Alan Scott hides who he is and goes on an adventure, which mostly consists of him talking about his sex life. It's kind of it. And a bad guy who's like his ex. So yeah, it's superhero drama without any of the character work. Now, this here, the Snagglepuss Chronicles, is reimagining Snagglepuss as a gay playwright in the 1950s. Under McCarthyism and the House of Un-American Activities Committee, the height of the Communist Red Scare. So everything here, in my mind, works, all right? It just does it. The first story has a very great message. As Snagglepuss addresses D.C., Congress, they ask, hey, state your name, Snagglepuss, occupation, American cultural icon. And he pretty much gives them a runaround because they're trying to give him the play ball, hey, what sort of play is this? They're trying to get him to admit, hey, are you a communist? Do you believe in upending the government? No. You remember the Communist Party? Heavens no, I never go to parties anymore. Do you want us to live in Russia? I can never live anywhere that didn't have good Southern cooking. But the heart of it is when he talks to Augie. And Augie wants to be a playwright. He wants to change the world. He wants to bring new ideas and everything in. And Snagglepuss says, dude, it's cool that you want to do that, but get rid of the idea you're going to change the world or save it. The world's on fire, I agree with you. But at the end of the day, people just want to have fun. They want to have a good time. All right? People will read your book, and you know what? They're not going to change their mind on anything. They're going to read it, have fun, and this was good. They're not going to adopt your politics. They're not going to adopt your worldview. They're going to like it for what it is. Even if you tell them that the theater is on fire, all right, they will keep watching the play. They will keep having fun. All right? And Augie points out, then, what's the point? Why fight at all? And Snagglepuss says this, all right? In life, you don't fight battles because you expect to win. You fight battles because they must be fought. And brilliant right there, all right? Love it. Now, I did not want to read this book originally because it didn't appeal to me. Snagglepuss, mid-Hanna-Barbera character, for me anyway. I know at the time he was pretty popular. He was no Yogi Bear. He was no Huckleberry Hound. He was no El Kabong. And he certainly wasn't Scooby. Scooby, the Chan Clan, the Flintstones. Flintstones had one too. Really good. But when I read the Flintstones did one, and it was the issue that actually got a lot of attention, which was the gay marriage one. All right? And we can talk about that another time. But I read that, I'm like, this is actually really good. It's actually really good. It's really good. It's a fun joke. All right, the whole point of that whole issue was it was making fun of the gay marriage debate by making it be an attack on actual marriage. It was actually really fun. So if this is what DC's putting out for the sort of woke SJW stuff, do the SJWs know this is actually really good and they should be promoting it? Oh wait, SJWs don't know anything. Okay, so I read this and I was like, this is so good. All right, but there's a problem with it. And this problem is a deal breaker for me from putting it at my all-time favorite. The art. Art can make or break your book. Alright? Manga doesn't have this problem for the most part. Very rarely does it not come off as a stylized choice that'll just make or break for you. But art styles tend to be very unique for American comics. I think that's unfair. Manga does have different ones. Some will blend in together. SAO. You know the kind. You know the kind. All right. And American animation has the two Kalish art styles, whatever. The art here is just kind of uncomfortable. Like, just look. No, I can't. But anyway, it doesn't break the story being told here. The idea that Snagglepuss sort of views himself as like someone who's sort of comfortable in his own skin, but really can't tell people exactly who he is on the inside. Remember, to the public eye, he isn't gay. All right, he's a successful panther who's made a living as a playwright. All right, and people don't really seem to get the idea that, you know, he's trying to say something profound or interesting about the human condition. Maybe some people do, but for the most part, they don't. He talks about the Algonquin Round Table and how those were his Knights of the Round Table growing up, where everyone else was like talking, where all the guys were talking about hard hats and construction work and sports. He preferred to read. Speaks to me. You don't want me on your sports team. The other team will cheer. All right? No, it won't work out. And so Snagglepuss has to deal with this sort of life, sort of maybe driven to a bit of apathy. Like, he doesn't seem to really get what's going on in the world. Doesn't really seem to get the problems. Or he seems uninterested in them. And which is weird because he has, as he goes to the Stone Wall, because, you know, was a gay bar, also a front for the mafia. So figure out why the police went there. Could be because, you know, they were there was a bunch of gay stuff going on there, or because they thought it was a front for the mafia. You know, is what it is. Either way, some people got hurt who were not involved with the mafia. Some people got hurt who were not there to do the gay stuff. Doesn't really matter at the end of the day. People were hurt. So anyway, so yeah, Snagglepuss, his boyfriend, these weird hoof hands. And guess what? Real Hanna-Barbera fans know who this is. Y'all know who this is. Quick Draw McGraw. There's a discussion about Batista and what it means when certain people come into power and how you underestimate them, and they'll begin the purges, they'll change everything. The danger of charismatic leaders. This may have been a critique against a certain orange-haired president, but I don't think it was. It doesn't go that far because the president doesn't really play a role in this. As a matter of fact, I don't think he shows up, if I recall. But overall, what I liked about the story was it goes out of its way to sort of let you know, hey, this was a real thing that happened. This was a thing going on here. There, artists and creators were accused of being communists and were seeking to overthrow the government and, you know, totally selling out to the Russians. Maybe some of it was true, maybe some of it wasn't. But because they wouldn't play ball, because they wouldn't, you know, either admit to anything or give the answers they were expected to give, their careers were ruined. Right? They weren't allowed to work, and they'd been blackballed by the government, who had by default gone after their places that would hire them and said, hey, do not hire these people. All right? All to get them to testify in front of Congress. It's kind of it. And that's a frightening thing. All right? And it is sort of fun to see that happening. That's the world Huckleberry Hound. That's the world Snagglepuss occupies. And then, of course, Huckleberry Hound comes in. Or is it? Huckleberry Hound does show up. But this is really fun. This is really cool. Huckleberry Hound comes in. He has possibly the saddest story in this entire book. And probably definitely one of the saddest ever. Like, this story is so good. The first issue ends with G.G. Allen leading the House of Un-American Activities Committee, going on some very interesting speech about how a country doesn't become what it fights. It becomes what it enjoys, what it consumes. And like, we have to make sure that everyone consumes the right things. We have to make sure that anything that would undermine American values or American capitalism or would support communism or, you know, degrade American values must be stopped. At the same time, the story juxtaposes this to, you know, what G.G. Allen and all of them are talking about is, you know, Snagglepuss, who they clearly know is gay. Or they clearly know it, and his plays, which are, you know, offensive and whatnot. At the same time, though, they've helped foster a society that is excited about watching somebody electrocuted. Like, this story starts off, well, not to start off, but also has a family going to go see a man get electrocuted, and they're enjoying it. All right, so it's very clever because of that. I love it. This story is great because it treats the audience like it wants something. It wants to learn about something. It wants to experience something. It's not here to lecture you. Every time Snagglepuss talks about what art is and the importance of it and his life and everything else there, it has a meaning towards the story. Snagglepuss at no point feels like he's stopped talking to Gigi Allen to talk to you, the audience. He's like, no. All right, someone's watching. They're honoring the fourth wall. Like, no one's out there. No. No one's out there. It's you and me, Gigi. And I'm still not quite sure if this was an argument against homosexuality or bestiality. I'm not sure. Overall, though, this was a really fun story. I loved it. It's, again, if the art was just like it was in the first one, in that little prologue issue, I think this would have been really up there, but that art is just so no. So there we are. There are some comics that I would recommend. Again, not all perfect, not all great, but they are good experiences. They help you sort of shape what you like, what you don't like. Same with comics you regret reading. They help shape your palette, help you know, like, you know what, this idea is not something I prefer to go for. This writer here has not won me over. All right, this is what, his third attempt? No, we're not doing it. Bendis, hey, hit or miss. Hey, is it Superman? No, I'll probably read it. There we go. Like, his Naomi wasn't that bad. Some people loved it. I was like indifferent to it. Overall, Green Lantern Corps, brilliant. Civil War, again, was a bit too much. Trying to juggle too many things at once, I think, really sort of undermined that story. But overall, though, like I said, your books you regret reading, books you like reading, books that help, books you love. These are all books that help shape your taste going forward. They help you sort of figure out what you look for, what you want to look for. That way, when you go to your comic book store, even just your local bookstore, you're like, no, yes, there we go. And you're good. Look at that. You save time on your trip, and you don't have to go, oh, I don't know. Then you buy it, and you hate it, and you got to give it to somebody, because most stores won't take you back comics. But anyway, with that in mind, brings to a close. If you're new to the Bucket Think, feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe. Check out some other videos, and I'll catch you all later. This is Bucket Think signing off. Thanks for watching. As always, may your fandom serve you well.